Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the conflict that is taking place between India and Pakistan. So, as we cover events today, it is being reported that Pakistan is increasing its readiness along its shared border with India. We have seen the deployment of Pakistani heavy artillery, mobile heavy artillery units towards the border of India. We have seen Pakistan place its air defense units on the highest state of alert possible as well. We have seen increased activity by the Pakistani Air Force. Now, additionally, it is being reported that Pakistan has placed its quote-unquote strategic forces on alert. What does that mean? When Pakistan says it is placing its strategic forces on alert, that means that they are placing nuclear weapon capability on alert. Both Pakistan and India are nuclear powers. Both have around 200 nuclear weapons each, enough to destroy each other's nation states and quite possibly contaminate many nation states around both India and Pakistan. Now, what is Pakistan's primary concern? Why is Pakistan placing its strategic nuclear forces on alert? What causes this? What is the concern with Pakistan in terms of what India may do? Well, there are several trip lines that could possibly cause a release of Pakistani nuclear weapons. Pakistan, the eastern portion of Pakistan, is very flat. Eastern Pakistan is really designed for large Indian mechanized divisions and armored divisions to operate and achieve very rapid and quick breakthroughs. So very quickly, depending on what happens in these initial engagements, now we're not seeing this buildup of Indian heavy divisions along the Pakistani border. That is not happening as of yet. We're probably seeing more capability in ground conventional forces being moved around by Pakistan. So that tells us quite possibly that India has other ideas in terms of what they're going to do. But that is one issue that concerns Pakistan greatly, is the ability for India to very rapidly and quickly move through these flat open areas of eastern Pakistan and then find themselves very quickly fighting in areas such as Hyderabad and Karachi. And that is one of the biggest concerns for the Pakistani military, is that a war of maneuver with India would essentially and could essentially destroy the Pakistani military in eastern Pakistan. Now look, war is rapidly changing through the use of drones, real-time information. So it's difficult to say if India were to choose that option, again, of moving large amounts of mechanized units and armored units into eastern Pakistan, what would happen? Pakistan has a very capable army. It has resources, probably more resources than India does in terms of anti-tank guided weapon systems that could destroy Indian tank formations before those tank formations could even possibly see some Pakistani units. The Pakistanis have great numbers of American TOWs, they have Russian Cornets, and then they have Chinese long-range anti-tank guided weapon systems as well. Probably more than what actually India does. But again, India would be on the offensive, attacking through eastern Pakistan, whereas Pakistan would be on the defensive. But again, If Pakistan found itself with tanks closing in on major cities and population centers, that would cause a release of nuclear weapons for Pakistan. Now, additionally, the destruction of the Pakistani Air Force. That is another condition that could cause Pakistan to release nuclear weapons. If India is able to destroy the Pakistani Air Force on the ground, we're just talking hypothetical, in which India would then have air supremacy. Now look, the problem for India is they do not have any stealth capability. No stealth capability. Even if they were to damage the Pakistani Air Force significantly, Pakistan's air defense network would cause horrific casualties on Indian Air Force operations over Pakistan. And we may end up seeing, much like we're seeing right now, in what is happening in the Ukraine. The inability of Russian aircraft to operate over western Ukraine and central Ukraine because of American Patriots and S-300s and other systems that the Ukrainians are using. Same systems, Chinese systems, are being used by Pakistan. And that's a threat to Indian aircraft. The Pakistanis also have some very advanced American air defense radars. So Pakistan can see everything that India is doing in terms of inbound aircraft vectoring in on targets inside of Pakistan. So in all probability, we will not see, if any, Indian Air Force multi-role aircraft, Rafales, Mirage 2000s, the Su-30, MKIs. We will probably not see any of those cross the line of contact. Again, what we think is going to happen when India, and if India, launches this attack, they are going to utilize long-range cruise missiles and or ballistic missile systems. That will be the method of Indian retaliation. A missile strike, and then possibly India has an advantage with its Navy. We could see some sort of escalation in which the Indian Navy becomes involved in an attack on a Pakistani surface vessel. That is another option that India has. That would be a clear case of if India is able to sink a Pakistani surface vessel, that would be well documented and well publicized and could create the atmosphere in which the Indian public, the general citizen, believes that retaliation was met. I'm not certain that if India launches cruise missiles or missile strikes against targets inside of Pakistan, they are going to be very effective. It's difficult to say. Pakistan's on a very high state of alert. They're watching for inbound Indian missile systems that could be launched against Pakistan. We're also, again, watching the Pakistanis prepare for possible defensive operations on the ground. But again, we're not really seeing a large movement of Indian ground forces that would indicate India is preparing for a ground war against Pakistan. In 2019, India launched its attack using Mirage 2000s with Israeli standoff weapon systems. It failed. As we speak, the Pakistani Air Defense Forces and its Air Force is more capable than what it was back in 2019 2020. They have received additional Chinese technology that will allow them to engage and destroy Indian aircraft. And additionally, they still retain those American air defense radars that were given to them in the early 2000s that are very effective. Very effective. In all probability, Pakistan has more situational awareness in terms of inbound Indian aircraft than India does in terms of inbound Pakistani aircraft. So all signs right now point to, if India launches a quote-unquote retaliatory strike for terrorist operations that occurred in Kashmir, it will be long-range missile strikes. Now, again, this could escalate. This could escalate in a way that many people don't really understand. These two nation states despise each other. You have two very different cultures, two very different religions that are at odds. But we'll see what happens. Again, based on rhetoric, based on information that comes in, it does appear that India is prepared to do something. Now, what that something is going to be, difficult to say. Now, I had seen one comment in the comment section talking about India and Pakistan being quote-unquote, banana republics. Are they banana republics? Well, culturally, in terms of what you see on the ground inside of India and Pakistan, the level of poverty that exists within both countries, yes, banana republic-ish. But both of these nation states are incredibly large with huge populations, large industrial sectors, okay? Large populations, large industry is what creates, causes, and sustains major war. Large population with industry. Large, young, male populations that are willing to fight. Pakistan has plenty of able-bodied young males that are essentially unemployed that are willing to fight, as does India. India, with 1.2 million men in its army alone, its ground force is like 1.2 million, is essentially an all-volunteer force. Because opportunities inside of India are so bad that joining the military and a competitive entrance process for those joining the military is highly lucrative. Many Indian males that get into the Indian Army end up staying in the Army for many, many years. 3 hots and a cot versus Slumdog Millionaire, all right? It's just the way it is. But both of these nation states have nuclear weapons. Large populations, large industry. That has the makings for a devastating conflict if and when it occurs. And it will probably occur. These two nation states will not be able to coexist for much longer until something finally happens. And something is eventually going to happen. Will it be in my lifetime? Will it be in another generation? Who knows? But I can guarantee you, based on the human condition, India and Pakistan will destroy each other at some point. Just the way it is. All right, that does it for today. More to come very soon. As always, have a good day.